We've spoken with him a couple times, just won his third round in qualies, and that is big time because that means he is through to the main draw of a Grand Slam, the second time of his career. Ethan, it's great to see you again. We love catching up with you. I feel like there's always good news when you hop on. You got myself, Jeff, Tracy Austin, Nick Monroe. I was trying to look at the recap of your match, but for everyone at home to know, Ethan won 7-6 in the third, and because it's a Grand Slam, it's a 10-point match tiebreak. You won 10-5. Were there any match point saves or set point save? How did the match go? Give us a little summary if you don't mind.
Yeah, it was kind of a roller coaster. You know, in the first set, I got a break at, I want to say it was 2-all or maybe it was 3-2. You know, I was kind of rolling in the first set. I was playing loose. I was hitting my forehand big, dictating the court, just taking advantage of every opportunity I could when I could get to the net. And then the second set, he made a really good adjustment. You know, he made me really uncomfortable with how he was serving. He was changing paces a lot and really made it so it disrupted my rhythm a little bit. And so, you know, he was holding really easily. And then off of his return games, he actually played a little bit more neutral off of his return position. Early on, he was playing very aggressive, you know, standing inside the baseline. And, you know, I was able to beat him up body a little bit, let my kick run a little bit. But in the second, you know, he shifted. He started playing a little bit further back, forcing me to hit a little bit, forcing me to hit another ball from deeper in the court. You know, and it was a little uncomfortable what he was doing, but I was able to adjust. I brought it back to 4-all. You know, unfortunately, you know, the moment was really big. So at 4-5 in the second, I double faulted three times consecutively, which is never good. You know, it's never good. You know, serving to stay in a set, and you double fault 3 times in a row. So, you know, put myself into, you know, a hole, and, you know, I won 1 point, but he was able to close out the set that way. In the third set, then I got up an early break, playing good tennis, and, you know, just a little bit, you know, the moment came to me a little bit. You know, I got a little tense, a little tight. Wasn't really letting the forehand go the same way. It tends to flatten out a little bit more as the moment gets a little bit tighter, as my forearm or my wrist doesn't drop below the ball. The ball just becomes a little bit flatter, which, I mean, I hit the ball pretty big, so sometimes it works out. But, you know, in moments like that where guys are better players, they're able to handle it and, you know, generate another ball off of it. You know, it's not getting out of their strike zone. It's kind of just in their pocket. But, yeah, I didn't have to save any match points, fortunately, in the third. And, you know, I just kind of played a lights-out breaker. Won it 10-5, I want to say, or 10-4. I can't even remember. But just, you know, I was seeing the ball big, and, you know, I was able to kind of dictate in the breaker and came up with some good stuff in big moments.
Massive. Yeah, Ethan, you talk about that moment. I mean, 10-5 in the third set. I mean, dude, that's awesome. So how were you able to kind of get into the right mind frame in that 10-point buster to get through that? And then also, how is the body feeling now going through that 3-set match?
You know, the thing I like about the 10-point breaker in the third set, or even the fifth set, is that you're able to kind of actually swing freely. You know, even if you get down a mini break, you still have a little bit to be able to, you know, catch up. And so for someone like myself who tends to play big, you know, I was able to let a few go, and they dropped in. And then when I had scoreboard, you know, I was up in the scoreboard, I was able to continue to do that. And, you know, he was having to be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more passive. You know, being down in score just made it a little bit harder for him to play quite as freely. And for me, I was able just to continue, you know, play attacking tennis, take some risk coming to the net, you know, changing down the line, maybe on a ball that you maybe shouldn't have done that. But, you know, I was up in the score, so I was able to take some risk, and, you know, I was just able to play a lights out breaker. And then the body right now, you know, there's so much emotion when, you know, when you quali into this being my first slam that I qualied into, you know, there's a lot of emotion. There's almost just a little bit of a letdown. When you came off, or a few hours after coming off the court, like the adrenaline right away, I felt like I could, you know, go run a 5K or something, just because I was feeling so great.
Yeah.
Now I'm relaxed a little bit more. All I'm thinking about is, like, all right, what am I going to eat tonight for dinner? Just going to try and crush protein, whatever I can do, to be able to recover. But knowing that maybe tomorrow I won't practice quite as intensely, more of just a recovery day tomorrow, you know, I can kind of, have a little bit of a cheat meal tonight, where I can just, you know, have a fat burger and some fries and just make myself feel good for calories. Yeah, exactly. I was actually talking about Five Guys in the car back. I was like, Ryan, like, does Five Guys sound good?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right on the
You
Champs-Élysées.
got to celebrate. So, Ethan, so many players talk about qualifying for a major, and that third round is so emotional because you either qualify or you don't. How were you? Did you talk about it with your team beforehand? And how were you able to manage those emotions at the end? Because it is a big deal to win those 3 qualifying matches consecutively. And as you said, for the first time, qualify for a major. You've had so many. You won the NCAAs, you won challengers, but this is a big moment.
Yeah, it's in the morning. I kind of went off and did my own little thing. I went and got coffee on my own, just kind of try and take myself away from what was going on today. Just tried to get myself away from the tennis, and it helped me out. But once I got to the courts, I certainly felt the butterflies in my stomach. I told Brian, I was like, hey man, like I'm a little nervous, and he's like rightfully so. It's a big moment. Everyone is not only just playing for money and points, but playing for the main draw of a Grand Slam that's where you dream to be playing. So there's a lot on the line, and he was able to kind of calm those nerves. I mean, he didn't say that until after the match. There wasn't a lot. He was just trying to make me feel as if it wasn't,
Yeah.
all or nothing.
Yeah.
He really helped me be able to settle into, just the moment.
What did he say? What
And
specifically did he say?
there it was. I couldn't give you an exact thing now. My mind's been in so
Yeah.
many places
Yeah.
for what he was
Yeah.
saying, and it's funny. Like I was eating lunch when we were kind of talking about it, and my court was flying through.
Yeah.
I was 4th on. I was expecting to be like 5 p.m. and then at 1:30, like my court's already on the 3rd match to set in, and I'm like, geez, like I wasn't expecting this at all. So I was actually almost forced to not be nervous because I had to start doing all my preparation and everything. I wasn't even able to sit and think about the match that's coming, which I think that actually helped me out a little bit because it was kind of spontaneous where, I didn't have any time to just sit and think about what was going on. I just had to go out there and play.
Good insight, Ethan.
Yeah, it was always a great interview. We've had a lot of like younger players join the program that were kind of new to the major main draw, and you've made one before. It was 2023 U.S. Open. This is the first one since. Kind of a cute little question. I feel like you give a good response. We haven't set the qualifiers in the draw yet. I'm going to give you an option. Would you rather play first night session Chatrier against Alcaraz, or would you rather play most outer court against the lowest ranked qualifier? You had to choose between one of those two. It's kind of ironic. He's already played Alcaraz, but what do you think?
Yeah, no, so I think with that question, I think I'd rather play Alcaraz on Chatrier.
Hell yeah.
I
like that.
after playing him in one match, I've actually like a lot of times people would see that draw and be like, oh, damn, I don't really want that at all.
Yeah.
But for myself, I'm actually a little excited about another opportunity to play him. Get a set, close out an opportunity like that one at 6-5 in the second set breaker.
You played
so,
in
I think that's what I
Barcelona
would choose
first
for
round,
sure.
right,
Yeah,
Ethan?
he had a set point.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
6-2, 7-6, but good match.
What did you learn? What did
Yeah.
you learn from that
Yeah.
match, Ethan?
I think the most important thing that I learned is I could play with anyone on any surface. Being an American, you don't really think of many players that are great on clay. Obviously, Tommy's been having great results on the dirt the last 2 years, making semis of Rome 2 years in a row. But for the most part, you don't really think about Americans being dangerous or going deep on clay. So I think for myself, learning that I can win a lot of matches on the clay was really encouraging, especially being my first week on the red dirt of this season. It was really encouraging going through the rest of the season on the clay, and then this week here in Paris, I've been able to capitalize on everything that I've learned and all the lessons that I've gained from even the losses to guys like Carlos and Mensik.
I think for a lot of fans, even for myself, I mean, I've been out there on the tour, Tracy as well, but for you just got through a tough 7-6 in the third, qualifying. What's the recovery method that you're into? I mean, some players do ice baths, some players only do massage. I was just a big massage guy. What is your recovery method? What did it look like today? And then also, how are the conditions playing like there at RG right now?
If I were to play tomorrow, I think I would have done things a little bit differently than what I did today. Normally, if I'm playing the next day, I'm going to do ice baths, I'm going to do physios, I'm going to do massage, I'm going to do a full stretching session. Whereas today, knowing that I'm not playing tomorrow and even not playing the day after that, I was able to kind of take it maybe not less seriously, but I was able to do things just a little bit differently with more intensity with with just being with the physio.
Okay.
Today I just went on the bike for 10 minutes post match, showered, and then I was with the physio for about an hour 15. Just keying in on specific things that maybe didn't feel good when I came off the court. And then later this afternoon, or later this evening, I'm gonna be able to do a full stretching session just because there's carpet in my hotel room, so I can just like lay down in here and be able to stretch.
Nice.
Whereas if I played the next day, like the other days, I'd been stretching for about an hour, doing the physio for about an hour, doing a massage for 30 minutes, ice bath for about 10 minutes. It just it differs day to day. And for myself today, I found it more important to get off the site, out of the courts, just get back into the hotel room, be able to go have a good dinner, rather than stay around the courts all day until 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. because I'd already been there for so many hours. I got there early this morning for my warm up and prehabs and all that type of stuff. So for me to be able to distance myself from the courts, I felt like that was far more important than doing the 10 things that maybe I would do if I was playing the next day.
I think that's for.
And
that's
then
good
as for the
yeah,
courts.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as for the courts, it was hot today. I wasn't expecting it to be hot. Yesterday was raining most of the day, so they were certainly slower.
Yeah.
But today was warm, and they were actually playing quick, which for me, I like it a little bit more like that. My kick serve is jumping a lot more. My forehand's jumping a lot more. I just become a little bit more of a dangerous player when the courts are fast and it's just hot here in general. When it's cold, it gives me more time.
Yeah.
But when it's hot, it's just more dangerous for me.
I think it's good for a lot of the juniors and people watching to understand that Ethan just said, hey, there's carpet in my room. I can stretch right here. I can do it by myself. And a lot of juniors, like, we tell them to stretch, and they're like, why do I need to stretch? It's like, hey, you've got carpet. You can stretch. This is how you become a better player. So that's really cool. Great insight, Ethan.
Very professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got to let him go out and grab.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Paris before? How's your French, if any?
I played juniors here during COVID. So I didn't have that great of an experience. I was stuck in the Ibis hotel, not allowed to leave the hotel or the courts. So it was kind of a dreadful experience, and I lost first round, so that's never fun. But so far this time around, I've been here, I guess now almost a week. Been going out a lot. My French is pretty bad. I would say normally I try and at least learn the language a little bit, but fortunately Brad Stein, he speaks fluently in French, so it makes it a lot easier for me. I don't really have to worry about anything like that. So I'm just kind of speaking English and getting through that way.
Okay, well, enjoy Five Guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that what we're grubbing? It's 7:48 p.m. there in Paris. What are we grubbing on?
Leo?
I think we might go to an Argentinian steakhouse. I think that's what we decided. We're gonna leave in I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or so.
Les Entrecote is good, Ethan.
Entrecote.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable. Thanks for
Sweet.
joining
Thanks
us
for taking
again.
the time, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge win, a huge moment. Just good job.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking
Thank
the
you
time.
so
Keep
much.
it going, big dog.
Appreciate it.
See
Have a
you.
good rest of your
Enjoy
night.
dinner.
We'll see you.